Good Company Podcast. Rick Carly, Ryan Spann sitting in for Lars. If you know recognize the last name Spann, he's related to a weather guy we know.
Yeah.
Matt Coulter and our
Ricky.
special guest. Look at this. Nacho Alabama.
Roll Tide.
Hey, this is serious journalism, right? We brought in Nacho for this episode. Well, if you're an Alabama fan or you're a college football fan, you probably have seen this guy. And Nacho, we're going to call you Nacho Alabama rather than your real name. Everything else is on the record, right?
Okay, absolutely.
So, welcome, and I guess we start from the beginning. You're from Mississippi, Madison, Mississippi, and how did this all start? Was there a cruise ship involved?
Yes.
And tell us about that.
All right. Well, the story is, and people ask me if I'm going to give them the short version. I always say, how did you get to start doing this? I was like, my wife left me unsupervised in Costa Maya for 2 full hours. That's really the whole story. Wow. But that's the broad strokes. But the thing was, we got off on a cruise ship and our excursions were canceled. And there's not a lot to do in Costa Maya. It's a small port. And so you can go shopping and that's about it. And you really don't want to try to get outside of the city. So my wife was bored and she's like, look, I'm going back. I'm going back to the boat. So I walked her back and I had actually tried to worked out a deal for the poncho and she had told me no. And because I was like, I got $30. So I was like, oh man, this is going to be awesome. She wouldn't let me get it. So I walked her all the way back to the boat and I'm like, look, I hadn't bought anything on this cruise. Let me go back and buy that poncho. Fine, leave me alone. So I'm like, oh, so I go back. I'm wearing Alabama shorts, Alabama shirt. I'm just screaming, sell me anything Alabama. And this was sure, of course, they'd won a lot of national championships and there was all kinds of stuff, that was out there without, Alabama on it. So here I am walking in and I just, I scream it and everybody, Alabama, Alabama, trying to get me into the shop. So I went straight to the place and went and got the poncho. And as I'm walking around unsupervised, everybody's trying to hail me into it. And this guy said, you know what you need with that poncho? And I said, what's that? And he said, you need a mask. And I said, hold up. Are you talking about like a Nacho Libre mask?
Right.
And that's actually where it kind of, anyway. So I was like, he's like, oh, yeah. Come on. So he gets me into his little thing. And he said, okay, I got 2 masks. He said, I got a cheap mask and I got a primo mask. And I was like, all right, bring me the cheap mask. So I look at it and it was like pantyhose. I'm like, that ain't happening. I mean, just like face tight.
That'd be pretty funny.
Oh, yeah. Well, I said, bring me the primo. And he brings me this mask. Now, at the time, it was a real luchador mask. And if you look at the early pictures, I wore it for several years where it had the sides and it was just it looked like a luchador mask. Well, I did that. So anyway, I don't want to get ahead of myself. So anyway, I get back, I'm so happy, anyway, I worked down the deal. The guy wanted like 85 and I was like at 20. And so finally I'm like, we're bartering back and forth and I'm staying at 20. I'm like, my wife's going to kill me if I buy this mask. I cannot do it. But he knew how badly I wanted it. Anyway, I was like, look, man, my boat's fixing to leave. I got to go. He said, okay. And he puts it in my bag. He said, for you, $20. I'm like, bam. So I'm like, man, $50 in. I'm stoked. Get back on the boat. My wife's reading a book. And I go into the bathroom and I put poncho and I put the mask on. And I come out. And I actually have a photo that she took of me as, right after I came out of the bathroom, the first time I wore the whole outfit. And I'm just like, ha! And she's like, oh my gosh, she was like, I hate it. She just was adamant that I was never going to wear it. And she said, you're never wearing that to a football game. And I said, oh yeah, I am. And so over the next few months, I whittled her down. And at that time, we did have season tickets. We had, anyway. And so I had whittled her down to, okay, 4th quarter only. So I was like, okay, foot's in the door, 4th quarter, I can put my stuff on. So sure enough, first game, I put on it. And the 4th quarter comes around and I just pretty well stayed right there. The next game was a cupcake and she didn't want to go. So I was unsupervised. So I started walking around. Well, at first, nobody wanted to take pictures with me. Nothing. I didn't even think it was. I just was walking around, And anyway, it wasn't until I went down to go get a picture with Big Al that it was he was out there taking pictures. I was like, oh, I got to get a picture with Big Al. So I went and got a picture with Big Al, and I turn around and there's this line of kids with their, parents. And I'm like, oh, geez, let me get out of the way. And they're like, no, we want to get a picture with you too. And it started there. And it's always been like this. When one person wants to take a picture, then other people are like, I want to get a picture. I want to get a picture. And then, you may take 50 pictures all, just like one right after another. And as my popularity has gotten bigger, and I do social media and I do this, and so the popularity has blown up so much, they're not timid anymore. It's like, Nacho, they come running up. And anyway, it's a whole nother level now than what it was. But that's how it all started.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's how it all started. And then a couple of years later, I made the hammer, which was
that the Bammer hammer?
Yeah, this is the yellow hammer.
This is quality. This is
autographs all over. Who you got on there?
Oh, I got
everybody. Ryan Williams.
Nate Oates.
I got Ryan Williams, Ty Simpson. I got Coker. I got AJ McCarron. I got Roll Tide Willie.
So the players know who you are.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
I
the
actually,
coaches,
yeah.
Nate Oates. Wow.
I got on here. I got Coach Saban and Miss Terry.
Wow.
Miss
So
Terry.
you do basketball too?
I do. I got Nate Oates and Phylon. And this is the whole SEC shorts group. I went to go see them. But the football players definitely know who I am. I went and actually got to hang out with them. What's it called? Alabama had a thing called Media Day this year. And I got to hang out with the whole team for like 2.5 hours.
How cool.
It was unbelievable. I mean, I got pictures with Ryan Williams, Ty Simpson. I mean, everybody.
Have you thought of selling? This would go for something.
Oh,
Don't
you
think?
set up an auction?
Miss Terry alone
Have a
and
little happy hour going
have
on.
an
all
auction,
fans coming
and
in.
then you just make another one, and then every couple years.
I've actually talked to the Bear Bryant's, or I guess they'll have a Nick Saban museum. I've already talked to them that when I'm ready to hang it up, I would be honored if my hammer and poncho and mask would reside.
Well, the thing about it is
Yeah.
the thing about it is the ultimately it's fine craftsmanship.
What is it?
A bunch of tape.
It's everything you think it is.
It's a box with tape on it.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Well, it's funny that actually the hammer thing came about. All right. So for the first couple of years, I just did like this when I would take pictures.
Okay. Yeah.
And my daughters wanted to go to Comic-Con. And I said, okay, if I'm going to Comic-Con, I'm dressing up, but I'm not dressing up like this.
It's in California? Or?
No. This was here in Mississippi. In Jackson.
Jackson.
So anyway, they wanted to go to Comic-Con, and I was like, I'm dressing up. And at the time, Guardians of the Galaxy had just come out, the latest, the one where Fat Thor, where Thor got, anyway. Right. And I said, I'm going as Fat Thor. So I bought a beard. I got a big fake beard, hair, and I made Stormbreaker, the big one, not the one that's the square, but it's like this big axe. And I made Stormbreaker and went with no shirt on and absolutely rocked Comic-Con. They got me up on stage and anyway, had an absolute blast. And I took 1,000 pictures. And, here I am all, sweaty, no shirt on, and people are just eating it up. And I said, Nacho needs a hammer. And I thought, okay, Rammer Jammer, yellow hammer, and then give them hell, Alabama. Yeah. So it's got all the bells and whistles. And to me, I mean, you can see me and know where I'm at just about anywhere in that stadium because of this hammer.
Right,
I stick out. There's a lot of white and a lot of crimson, but not a lot of red. Yeah. And so, a lot of times I try to work my way during a game. I'll try to work my way down into a corner. If we're making a drive into the end zone, I'll try to work my way down into that corner. And I've got 5 or 6 different games where you can watch the video and you can see me like after the catch, especially if it's in my corner, you can see me, doing like this. Yeah. And it was definitely a vital piece to the ensemble.
Right. What's that's got some heft to it.
It's when I made it.
What's in the box?
It's yoga mat foam. There's nothing yoga mat foam and spray foam, and the only this is just PVC pipe. Okay. And the first one I made, I did with 3/4 inch PVC, which it was way more sturdy. And I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And I was like, they're never going to let me bring this to the stadium because I could actually hurt somebody.
Exactly. But you get through security.
Yeah. They all know who I am. And I actually had trouble about 3 years ago. I'm always nervous first game of the season because I'm like, okay, what if I what if they've changed security? Because this happened 3 years ago. I went up and she was like, no, you're not going to be able to wear that mask and you got to get rid of that hammer. And I'm like, come on, I've been doing this for years. And I said, can I talk to your supervisor? And she said, fine, and she went over and called the supervisor. He looked over and goes, that's Nacho. Let him in. And I'm like, yeah. And I go when I fist
She
bumped
was
him.
the only one that didn't know who you were.
Oh, yeah. I fist bumped him. And then I went to fist bump her. She was all ticked off. So, but for the most part, most of the security have seen me because I do go to basketball games and soccer games, and they know who I am.
You've been
and
to
they know
swimming events, haven't you?
Yes, I've been to swimming, volleyball. I try to go to everything. If I'm in town, like during the spring, it's a drive. So when I look at, I'm like, okay, I got a free weekend this weekend. I go and I look. I'm like, okay, I can go to 3 softball games, 2 baseball games, gymnastics, a basketball game. This is a good weekend. Or, swimming or, so when I come, I go to like 6, 7, 8 events. So I get the maximum bang for my buck when I'm coming in the spring.
I just can't.
Do you have to buy a ticket for every one? Or are they
Yeah,
kinda
sometimes.
comp-
Yeah, now on basketball, usually on baseball and softball, there's such a wonderful family, is what they call it. And there's always somebody that's got an extra ticket. And so they'll end up, as long as I reach out to them ahead of time, be like, hey, I'd love, now the basketball, of course, it's gotten really difficult.
Yeah.
And so most of the time, I guess, I don't know, I don't go to as many basketball games as I would like to because I just can't drop the kind of coin that I would need. And I can't move around. And that's what I love about football and softball and in baseball is I can walk around the whole time. And when you go to a basketball game, you're kind of locked into one spot. So short of them putting me on the court, I don't get to go to a whole lot of basketball games. I usually go to about one a year.
Right.
I'll get a ticket, and there's a couple areas where you can move around a little bit. But over there near the student section.
In a broader sense, though, I just get a kick out of this. You work for a major corporation. Mild-mannered businessman by day, Nacho by night. You turn into my question is, do the people where you work know about this businessman who goes to work on Monday morning after dressing like this 2 days
they
before?
do. They know. My supervisors and stuff know, know what I do. And like I said, but being that, I live, I'm in Mississippi, the lines don't cross too much. So it's usually okay. And about the only time it gets brought up is if I go to a site and I see Alabama stuff up in somebody's office. I'm like, okay, I got to talk to this person, So, but usually I keep it very low key. And like I said, I try to keep these two worlds separated just because, I like having that. I like having that little bit. I like being able to take this stuff off and nobody knows who I am. Yeah. I can walk around on the quad and just relax. And I would say in Alabama, there's probably 30 people that actually know who I am without my stuff on. And it's kind of cool.
It's 33 now.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Y'all got to,
You're like the Batman of Tuscaloosa, basically. It's a pretty big compliment.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you go to Alabama? What made you a Crimson Tide fan?
Well, okay, I did not go to Alabama. About the closest I came to it was I went to the University of West Alabama for like 2 semesters. But I actually grew up in the Bay Area in California. And so I was a huge 49ers fan for years and years. And my son got national merit, got a full ride, national merit. And so he had to, his pick of where he wanted to go. And he was big into band at the time. And he wanted to go, Alabama, sent him an invite, so we went to go tour Alabama. And my wife graduated from Alabama. So there was a big tie there as well. So we came to Tuscaloosa, and of course, Alabama is like Disney World. It is unbelievable. And it really wasn't fair because he was supposed to tour Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and he went to Alabama. And it's like, after we went there, and then he went toward the other ones. He's like, this is like going to Dolly World after going to Disney World. Yeah. And, and that's true. When we went, somebody gave us tickets to a cupcake game, my first game in Bryant-Denny. And I absolutely fell in love. I mean, I had been to probably 30 NFL games. Then nothing compares to Bryant-Denny Stadium. And it took my breath away. Yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then later that same day, my son and I were walking back, and he's like, Dad, there's nowhere else I want to go. And I said, roll tide. And but my wife had always tried to get me to be an Alabama fan for years, and I would root for them. But I was like, I'm not just going to become an Alabama fan because they're good. I didn't want to be a fair weather fan. And I was like, look, I'm not going to, I'll root for them, but I'm not, going to go crazy. And when my son decided to go to Alabama, I said, okay, I got enough skin in the game now. I'm going to be an Alabama fan. And I wanted to be part of what I experienced at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I had no idea this was going to happen. This was a couple of years before, and I knew I wanted to be part of it, but again, I didn't know it was going to turn into all this.
Right.
Back to your helmet, and turn your head a little bit and show so we can pick this
Yeah, exactly.
the Alabama logos on the side.
yeah.
Okay, just stay there. Just stay there for a little bit, so Chandler can. But tell me as you stay in that position here, so it can. Tell me what did you sew these on later?
No. This is actually the way it came from Costa
Really?
Maya. Yes.
Really?
Yes, yes.
I thought you had to add.
Oh
that.
no. It would look just like this, except it had sides, and it had it looked like a luchador mask. And funny thing, the reason that the mask looks like it does now, I was trying to get into a basketball game. Now I had been to a ton of football games, and I'm trying to get into basketball, and they're like, no, you can't wear that. And I was like, why not? And they're like, well, we need to be able to see your face. And I'm like, come on, guys. I go to all these football games. And they were like, no, sorry, we can't let you in. So I wasn't able to go. I had a ticket and I wasn't able to go. I just gave it to somebody because they wouldn't let me in with my mask like this. So I got a ticket later on, and I was like, okay, I'm going to fix this. So I cut so you could see the bottom half of my face. And I went to that basketball game, went to a gymnastics meet in Coleman. Everything was fine. And then 2 weeks later, COVID hit and everybody had masks on and nobody, and I'm like, funny thing though, it actually is the best thing that could have happened, because when this was on, imagine walking around on the quad. It's 95 degrees and you've got this pleather thing on that does not breathe. I mean, I was miserable. And cutting this open, it's the greatest thing that ever happened.
So it worked out for you.
And anyway, it was one of those unintended consequences that, anyway, so now, but this is actually the original mask
And
that I bought.
and the smock thing.
The poncho, I change out. The poncho is not made for what I do to it. It is so not made. It's made for tourists that come in. You can see it's sturdy. A lot of this came from the Tennessee game. When everybody's smoking cigars and bumping
Right.
into you and getting pictures, and I try to get a season out of a poncho, if at all possible. But a couple years ago, I went through 3 ponchos in one season.
Wow.
Now, you can still find them. And every time I go on a cruise, if we go into Mexico, Cozumel and Costa Maya, you can find these ponchos. But getting near the end of the season, they start to break down. You can see where it's kind of separating.
fuzzy, yeah.
It's separating right
Little
there.
bit soft,
It's got dirt on it. And because, again, it's not made for what I do to it, man. They were made for tourists to put on one time for a picture and then put in a bag and never see the light of day again. That's what these things are. And I wear them, on a big game day. I mean, shoot, I get cranking at like 6:30, like if game day's in town, like they were for Vandy this year. All right. Which I still can't believe. Vandy was the game. But anyway, I have to be now they reach out to me. Game day reaches out to me and is like, hey, can you be at Old Dominion, the Old Dominion stands at 6:30? And so, absolutely. So I go down, and because they have this big wrestling belt that they want me to hold and do all that. And anyway, there's this whole thing. But so I have to be there at 6:30 in the morning. And I won't stop on a game like that until midnight. And
Right.
so
Long
I
day.
am running nonstop all day. And sometimes, like I said, that was early in the year. So it's 90 degrees outside. And I'm drinking water just nonstop, just trying to stay hydrated. And so it's a labor of love. I can tell you that.
Right.
And I used to walk everywhere. And I was going like 11 to 13 miles walking a day. And I ain't built for that. You can see I'm a big guy. I don't handle 11 to 13 miles in a day.
But that's good for you, though. You can,
It's very good for me. But
you can turn back here now.
Okay. It's good for me.
It's good for you, but
it definitely doesn't feel good that next morning whenever I try to get up out of bed and I can't even stand up.
Yeah.
Can you lift your knee up just a little bit? I want everybody to see your pants.
You can stand up. You can,
That'd be good.
Yeah.
What are those pajamas?
I try to.
You put
No,
your
no,
put
no.
your foot up here on the chair and go ahead. There you go. Now we can see.
Ta-da!
Okay. So that's the.
No. But yeah, these are called. These are a company called Loudmouth that make these. They make shorts and they're light. And I really like them. I have another kind that I wear that have the Alabama A's on them. I have crimson, and then they have white Alabama A's all over them. But these are just so tacky. They fit my ensemble so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have another pair of these that I've got coming. So, yeah, these loudmouths are perfect for what I do.
Let me ask you about Nacho Alabama, based on Nacho Libre. I guess that's what the whole.
That was
thing.
where it kind of. That's where it kind
Come
of
on
kicked
up here a
off.
little close. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
okay.
Okay, there you go.
All
I'll
right.
make sure that mic is. So that's what it's based on, is the Nacho Libre.
That's
thing?
where the nacho part came from. It was just a goof. I was just trying to think up a name, and I was like, Nacho Libre, and I was like, well, Nacho Alabama, and then I thought, no, I'll change it a little bit. I'll be Nacho Alabamo, and so hey, it ended up working, and as my social media, I actually blew up on social media. I wasn't doing anything. I mean, I'd post some stuff on Facebook every once in a while if people, sent me pictures. But I got to went to Baumhauer's when Coach Saban was having Hey Coach. And when I came in, they, when you first came, this is the way it used to be anyway. When you would come in, if they decided to, they would give out these lanyards. And they would give out 25 lanyards, and you could either get an autograph or a picture with Coach Saban. And I was like, I gotta get the picture. I mean, I can get an autograph. I want a picture with Coach Saban. And so I got somebody to take pictures and video, or take pictures. And one guy was videoing. And when Coach Saban came walking up, and I was already set up in my signature pose, and he came up behind me, and it's so funny because one of the pictures, Coach Saban's looking down at me with this look on his face, which is probably was my favorite picture of it. But then he put his hand on my shoulder, and we took the picture, and I turned around and told him, "Thank you so much, roll tide," and he said, "Roll tide," and of course, then get on out of here, freak, But no, he didn't say that. But he was very nice, and so I had some video and I had the pictures, and so I put them together in this little 25-second video, and I put it on TikTok, and then somebody on Instagram reposted it, and all of a sudden, and I had an Instagram account, but I never did anything with it, and I had a TikTok. All of a sudden, overnight, I got 1,500, 2,000 followers on Instagram. My phones was set to, acknowledge every time that somebody followed me.
Yeah. Wow.
And, I had to turn that off because my phone was like hemorrhaging. And it was so much fun. I got, I'd watch my TikTok and it got up over 500,000 views.
That's crazy.
It is.
So what are you on? Is it just Nacho Alabama?
Nacho Alabama.
Okay,
I always tell
it's
people.
an O on the end.
Yeah, with an O at the end. And I tell you, the best way to find me on social media is just to Google Nacho Alabama, because it's got all my social medias, and it's got interviews I've done, newspaper articles, TV article, when I got interviewed by TV stations and stuff like that. It all pops up right there. And that's definitely the easiest way to catch me. Mm-hmm. But I will tell you this, with social media, I never knew, I never done anything with social media. Now I post, 3 or 4 times a week, and it definitely opens doors the more followers you get, because, and that was something I had to learn. It's like, okay, when I hit 10,000 followers on Instagram, then all of a sudden businesses are reaching out to me wanting me to come, to their restaurant, to their bar, because they get cheap, free, advertising. If I come out and they, give me a meal or something, and I give it a, score, or I don't really do the score thing. I just say, it gets, the hammer of excellence or whatever. But I do it, especially new businesses. I love helping new businesses out because, it's a struggle for somebody to come out there on the strip and all of a sudden try to start pulling people when everybody's used to going to Moe's and Houndstooth and Galettes, and it's hard to compete with that kind of stuff. And anyway, so as my social media has grown, doors have opened that I never could have dreamed, and it's super cool. Sometimes they'll give me tickets. They'll be like, "Hey, we'd love to have you come by," or they'll give me tickets so I'll come by their, whatever, come by their restaurant or whatever. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, it is.
How old are you now?
I am 51 years old.
Okay, I was going to say, how much longer would you like to do this? You got
I'd
another
love to do
10
this
years
as
or
long
20
as
years?
I can keep kicking like a chicken.
Okay.
Shoot, man, I'll do it until I can't do it no more.
Okay.
I don't have a set time. I love it so much because I get to interact with so many fans and people, and it's so special to me. And especially with the students, because I become part of their college experience, and I never really realized it until the last couple of years. One of my favorite stories is I had a guy that came up to me and he's like, hey, and then, they love to show you the picture they took with you back in, back in, 5 years ago. And I've been doing it long enough that these kids have graduated and are out in the real world. And I had this guy come up and go, look, he's like, I took this picture with you my junior year, and I would love to get you to get a picture with my son. I'm like, how cool is that? That's like the whole circle. And,
and I'd be like the San Diego chicken.
Yeah. But it's and I meet these kids, and they know, because my son just graduated this past spring. And I look at these kids as, as these students as my kids. Because, I got another, kid that's 21 and another one that's 18, and they're the same age as my kids. And when I see them out, they come over and give me a hug and I love you, Nacho. And, it's crazy. I know it's crazy, but I feel like I'm part of their college experience. And another thing where it really shines through. And last year it was really cool because the last game of the season, Iron Bowl, I will always leave when I leave the stadium after a game. I leave out through the student section, like there's a exit where all, if you're coming down the spiral or if you're leaving the student section lower bowl, everybody funnels out that one line. And I do that so I can meet as many students as I can. And it is absolute chaos. And it's at the end of the day when I'm at my absolute, most exhausted. But I will take, hundreds and hundreds of photos because they'll get all around me. And, and anyway, I'm directing traffic and doing all that. But getting back to the story about Auburn. So I'm there taking pictures, and these, especially the girls, they're just crying because they realize this is the last game that I will ever get to go to, because these kids don't just live in Alabama. They live in New Jersey and Washington State. They're from all over the country, all over the world. And they know when they graduate in the spring or whenever that they're never going to, more than likely, never come back to Tuscaloosa. And it's the end of it, and they realize it. And they're so emotional. And last year it really hit me because it was really something special. And, the last home game of this year will be, this on tomorrow. And I hope I get the same kind of experiences.
Oh,
because,
you will. Tell us the story about and one of the reasons why you don't like to say your real name was because of your kids. Your kids are kids. They don't want to be I don't want to be embarrassed. That's your dad. So tell me the story. Your son's going to Bama, right? Mm-hmm. And he's at a frat party, and you came up and how that.
Yeah, for the longest time, none of his friends knew who I was. I mean, knew that I was his dad, and so my dad, and this was like 3 years. He was in Kappa Sig, never told a soul, and then he was at a party. And these sorority girls are talking about me. And he's like, yeah, that's my dad. And I'm like, that's not your dad. He's like, oh, yeah, that's my dad. And showed a picture of me. And all of a sudden, I'm cool, because the sorority girls are talking about me. Oh, yeah, that's my dad. That's my old man. So my son has come around quite a bit. And when my daughter was going here, she's not going here anymore. Alabama's not for everybody, and I know that. And she came here. She was a COVID kid. Her senior year was 2020. And it was a tough time, because, they lost everything. They lost prom and, being able to go out with friends and everything. Anyway, she came to Alabama after that. And it was just such a shock in such a large university that it was overwhelming. And anyway, she's going to Southern Miss now, and she is very happy, and that's all I care about. But yeah, my son definitely came around to acknowledging that I was his father.
And you said when we walked up into the studio here before recording, you said, it's really. This whole shtick has given me an opportunity to experience so many fun stories or moments. And is there one moment there? You mentioned the Saban thing, which was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Just, going to Auburn, you said the Auburn folks were nice to you.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything that you met a famous celebrity on game day or anything that came up and posed for a picture?
Yeah. Walker Hayes, he's a country music guy. He's a big Alabama fan. And anyway, I'd been walking around and I met this lady comes up to me. They were with Fox, I think. Fox was on site or whatever, Fox Sports. And she was like, hey, we'd love to get you together with Walker Hayes. And I'm not a big country guy. So I was like, oh, yeah. And she was like, she said the Applebee's song. Oh, okay. I know who you're talking about. Absolutely. Well, she's like, hey, we're going to meet up with you. We'll get together. And this was a big game. And I was like, there's no way I'll see these people again. The quad is absolute chaos. And I'm nowhere at any set time. And all of a sudden, I'm walking over there in front of Denny Chimes, and Walker Hayes walks up. He's like, hey, you're the guy. I said, no, you're the guy. Anyway, they got up. They put the cameras on us. We did a roll tide and all that. And this is a cool story. So anyway, got to talk to him just a second. And so fast forward, SEC championship. This was when we beat Georgia the last time we were at SEC championship. I'm in Atlanta after the game. I'm walking to somebody had told me, hey, you need to come to the Omni. That's wherever. That's where all the players are going to be. Blah blah blah. I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I kind of had a little in there, so I was headed to the hotel, and I crossed the street and I look over. Walker Hayes and his wife walk up to me. He's like, what's up, Nacho? I was like, man, just out of the stone cold blue, he walks up to me, and we're talking. And anyway, that was one of the coolest things. What are the chances? Walking around in Atlanta after the SEC championship, and I just happened to run into Walker Hayes. And anyway, that was a cool thing that happened.
That's awesome.
It's a small world.
Where can we find you on? So just knock out you're on TikTok, you're on X. You're on Twitter?
I'm on X, but I don't post hardly on X. I'll tell you the best place to find me, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Those are my three. Okay. And when I post videos and pictures and stuff, I post them on all of them. So yeah, and Nacho Alabama on all of them. Sometimes there's a dash or whatever. But again, the best way, just Google Nacho Alabama, and it's all right there. And, links to some of my videos and all that kind of stuff.
Well, my final question is, you're an outgoing guy. You're a talker. Have you always been gregarious and outgoing and a showman, so to speak? Or is that what your wife loved about you? Or she wishes you would shut up once?
Well, it's funny because out in the real world, I'm not like this, but I have been, you said showman. I used to put on a haunted house at my house in Madison, and it ended up becoming a monster. At my house, we ran 700 people through on Halloween night.
It's a lot of candy.
Yeah. Well, we weren't giving candy. We had a haunted house, and I had all the kids in the neighborhood. I mean, I had probably 25 kids in the neighborhood that came, and we would build scenes. And at the end, I had a mask and a white apron covered with blood and a chainsaw that I took the blade off of. And at the end, I would crank up the chainsaw and chase them out of the maze. And sometimes I would chase them out into the street and do the whole, leather face, the whole nine. So and we made T-shirts. I mean, it was a big deal in Madison there for, I think we did it 11 years. And each year it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then finally it just kind of phased out. And then, 5 years later, I started doing this kind of thing. So, I mean, I guess in that respect,
sure,
kind of a showman, but not in real life. Not in real life. Just normal dude. Normal.
That's awesome.
I got to ask about your hammer in security because, we've had 2 Secret Service situations at Bryant-Denny Stadium, and I was there for both of them.
As was I.
What was their reception to you walking in with a hammer?
Okay. Now,
It's a great question.
it was a great question. And the first time that we had the Secret Service there, I was not able to bring my hammer in.
Okay.
And so I was hammerless. And they would not let me wear my mask the first time. And they told me I had to pull it up and I could not wear my mask. So what I do was I'd walk around with my mask propped up like a hat. And then when somebody would take a picture, I'd pull it down, and okay. So funny thing was I was walking around and I forgot to pull up my mask again. I'm walking around and all of a sudden I feel a tap on my shoulder. And he's like, sir, you're going to have to raise your mask. I'm like, what? I look around. It's one of the guys with a little squiggly thing in his ear. And I'm like, whoa. And I'm standing out, in the middle of Bryant-Denny. And I'm like, how many crosshairs are on me right now?
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's an eerie feeling. It's like walking around when you're deer hunting. You're like, somebody's watching me. But times 6 or 8 or I don't know how many dudes were up there. But I'm like, I guarantee you I'm in somebody's crosshairs. And so that was the first time. And then I think he left at halftime and then everything was fine. Nobody cared about anything. Then, everything went back to normal. And then the last time he came was I actually have an inflatable hammer that I have it's big and goofy. It's a blow up hammer, but I taped it up just like this one. So it's got a red handle and it's got this, but it's huge. And it's inflatable. And I started doing that for away games because when I went to Auburn and when I went to Ole Miss, they would not let me bring this in. And I didn't, when you're out of town, the last thing you want to do is turn around and walk all the way back to your vehicle because they're not leaving this with them.
Right.
And so I have this inflatable. I call it my travel hammer. And I took it to the Rose Bowl. We went to the Rose Bowl a couple of years ago. I won tickets for that from all this. It was a Wampler's Ultimate Tailgater contest, and I competed with people all over the nation. And they did an interview with me and all that on the quad at the Texas game. And I told the dude right then, I was like, so everybody votes online, right? And he said, yeah. And I was like, I'm going to win this whole dang thing. He said, why you say that? I was like, if I ask my people to go on and vote, I was like, I'm going to walk away with this. And I did, man. I absolutely walked. I think I won by like 8,000 votes and ended up winning 2 tickets to the Rose Bowl and 4 nights in the Omni in LA and $300 spending cash. All we had to do is fly out there.
All for wearing a mask.
Yeah.
I
Here
got to
you go. I'll
ask you a
take
few
it.
rapid fire questions here. Nacho. Does the hammer get through TSA?
TSA, what do you mean?
Like security at the airport? What do you do? Is it carry
I have
on?
not had to try it on. I have not taken it on the
Oh,
airport.
okay.
Yeah, so I have that inflatable hammer. So that's another reason I don't want to have to worry about losing. If something happened to it, that inflatable, I can just go on Amazon and buy another one. But that I can't replace.
Has anybody ever recognized you as your day job and said, "Hey, by the way, you sound and you look kind of familiar. Are you Nacho Alabama?"
No, not that I haven't told. Now I'm wondering. I've always wondered if I did my same day job in Tuscaloosa,
I'll bet.
would it be a different scenario? And it might be, but it's not a problem over.
Do you ever wear this when you're driving?
No. No, absolutely not. No, it's
Imagine
too.
a car full
It's
of
too
kids
much.
pulling up
No,
next
it's too
to
much
you.
of a distraction. Well, I can't see.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a great example. I mean, how hard it is because walking up and down the stairs and stuff. When you've got this bar, you can't. So I mean, I have to walk looking down under. And I had some friends that I have known, that I go out to eat breakfast with them at the Waysider every game day.
Cool.
Their family, I see them on the quad. They're great friends of mine. And they told me where they were sitting. And I walked to their section and I'm standing there looking for them. And I'm like, I looked for 2-3 minutes, couldn't find them. They were sitting right there. And one of them even grabbed a hold of me and was trying. I'm like, hold up. And I'm looking for my friends and they're sitting right here and I couldn't see them. And, So anyway, sometimes it's a challenge, walking downstairs, especially, you gotta take you gotta alter and look where you're going. Kind of like when I came in, you said the wires on the floor.
Right,
I was like, okay, I
you gotta be careful.
gotta get my eye holes lined up.
Well, you're a lot of fun, and real quick,
Fascinating.
just my final query here, question. Your wife must be a saint. I mean, what is she thinking of her husband doing this whole thing?
At first she was not thrilled at all. Like I said, she had told me I would never wear it to the games. But I will say this: she's capitalized on. Like I won tickets to the SEC championship one year, the Rose Bowl. There's doors that have opened that I've been able to bring her through in, and she's lightened up considerably. But she will not go as Miss Nacho. I'll do some of my skits and stuff, and I'll say Miss Nacho, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you got to dress up." She is not playing ball when it comes to that.
She acts like she doesn't know you when you're there.
No,
you bring her, she's just like, I don't know who that guy is.
That's the thing. When she comes to games, I don't sit down. And so I try to, if she comes to a game, I try to put her with some people that I know she's going to have a good time with or that she already knows,
Right.
That way she's just not sitting there by herself. Now she is she'll talk to anybody, she can find friends no matter where, but I like to get her in a good situation and I like to be in the lower bowl so I can come see her a couple of times when I'm making my rounds around the stadium. So, but she is very understanding and she understands how much I love doing this. And she knows my heart's in the right place, and I do it. I'm doing this for not just me, but for the students and the fans, and I think I do bring something to the game day experience. When we're on defense and, it's third down, man, I am going nuts. I'm trying to get that crowd fired up. When I look up in the stands and there are people looking back at me and I'm, waving, come on, let's get fired up. We got to get loud. I've been saying for years, man, ever since Scott Cochran left and we used to have fourth quarter and he would come on and be like, all right, everybody, let's get fired up. Yeah. Now they don't have anything. And I've been telling people, I told Greg Byrne, I've told everybody I can tell. I'm like, man, that spot is made for me. Get me out on the field. Let me get that crowd fired up. I will. And so far it hasn't happened yet, but that's always been my thing. I'm like, man, one day I'm going to get out. I'll be out there on the field and, Nacho Alabama. And I'll be like, because when I get on the big screen, a lot of times people will cheer and stuff.
Yeah,
I know it. I feel it in my heart. That'll be the pinnacle. If I don't have a heart attack on the 50-yard line.
Well, you're walking that much, 11 to 13 miles. It's actually good for you.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Right.
If I did that every day,
right.
But
your wife is probably thinking, well, at least you're getting some exercise.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
There you go. Maybe that's it.
All right, Nacho. Well, this is being recorded on a Friday, so you are headed back to Tuscaloosa. We will see you at the games, the remaining
definitely.
games. Do you go to the bowl or the playoff games and everything?
If I can.
If you can, depending on the cost and
the
location
and the distance. Exactly.
Right, exactly.
I've been able to make the last 2 or 3 SEC championships. 1 year I missed it. The one that we beat Georgia before we lost to them to the national championship. But my daughter is in the military. She was in basic training, graduating, and of course it was that weekend. So I was up actually in Missouri watching the game at a bar, dressed up, watching the game and doing a live stream from the. I was still there, but I was there for long distance. But I try to go to the. Like I said, Atlanta's not too far of a trip. It all depends on cost. I can move around Atlanta, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium pretty well. There's certain if you know how to move, you can get a nosebleed ticket, and I don't care about sitting down, so I can maneuver. That's in there.
cool.
Do you have a running tally of consecutive home games you've been to? That's something I wanted to know.
Well, I for the longest time I didn't have any missed games that weren't COVID related.
Okay.
Now, I always throw that caveat on there
true.
because 2020 was absolute chaos. Now I got to go to my son's apartment on 2020 was, where the Rammer Jammer is?
Yeah.
There's a row of apartments right there, like under Bryant-Denny. That's where my son's apartment was that year. Yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be the greatest season ever. And then COVID hit. And it was like at the Georgia game, I'm standing there going, there should be 5,000 people right here. And there are 50 people here. It was so terrible to have the best tailgating location in the country. And and it was COVID.
Right.
And so a lot of times I would just wait until late in the game when everybody's leaving, and then I would, whoop, I'd get in. So I consider those that I did get to go to the home games. It
They
just,
count.
yeah, and I was so close, I might as well been in there. And because we would watch the games outside. It was so cool because we'd be watching the game and there'd be a little bit of a TV delay. So we'd hear, we're like, oh, it's got to be an interception, because you knew, because we were on defense and everybody's screaming, you knew that something cool was fixing to happen, and it was just like right outside. So, but yeah, I missed one game that wasn't COVID related in the last 7 years, and it was because I was on a cruise. My wife and I took a cruise during football season, and homecoming. This was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. 3 years ago, and homecoming. It's always 2:30, whatever. Usually it's a good time. Hold on. Sorry.
Oh, that's your wife now.
No, that's my stepmother-in-law there.
Coach Saban?
No, definitely not Coach Saban. I would have answered that one. I've been like, hold on, guys. Yeah, that's one of the dudes I would absolutely.
So back to homecoming.
Homecoming. I was getting off the boat in Mobile, and I brought all my stuff. If you're an Alabama fan, go out of Mobile on a cruise because you are surrounded by Alabama fans. We watched the A&M game on the cruise ship. And that's a whole nother story. It was amazing. But I'll tell you, I know we don't have time, but we got off the boat. And the plan was for us to go straight to Tuscaloosa, but it was an 11 o'clock kickoff. And we got off the boat and it was like 9:30. And I was like, I can't even make it there by halftime.
Right.
So that's the only game. And that was, I guess it was Arkansas. And anyway, we won. They didn't have to have me there, but that wasn't my fault. I had every intention.
Well, now you know. You don't go on a cruise with your wife and football.
I know.
This is Alabama football.
Hey, listen, my wife was on a cruise. We had a cruise scheduled, or my wife did. Her and a good friend of hers. They graduated from Alabama. They're both pressuring me. They're like, hey, you need to come, on this cruise. We had a great deal on it, all this. I would have missed the Vandy game. And I was like, I'm not missing the Vandy game. It's just Vandy. I said, they beat us last year. I said, they need a whooping, man, and I am going to be there. So I passed up on not a free cruise, but it was drastically reduced to go to the Vandy game this year. Now, that doesn't show, absolute dedication. I don't know what does, but yeah, they went on the cruise, and I stayed at home so I could go to Vandy.
I feel like you've had to miss some I feel like there's had to have been some close calls and sacrifices you've had to make over the past 7 years. Like, have you gotten sick or anything? Any fought through any illnesses?
I missed one of the ones that I chalk up to the COVID was my wife had COVID, and it was a cupcake game. This was like 4 or 5 years ago. It was when COVID, it was like 2021, I guess. So everybody was still kind of scared, but anyway.
Right.
And my wife had COVID. I didn't. I tested negative, but I was like, if I won't go to this game and I end up popping up, positive, I was like, you're talking about an ultimate spreader. I mean, I'm taking pictures with hundreds, thousands of people.
Yeah, good point.
And I was like, man, I would never forgive myself if I ended up giving it to somebody and they went home and their grandparent, what I'm saying? I mean, it was still really scary at that time. And anyway, I decided, I was like, nope, I'm not going to that game. And so that's the only game that I, is still consider it COVID related.
Probably a good call there.
I think we can cut you some slack on that.
We'll cut you some slack.
Yeah.
Well, Nacho, thank you for stopping by. So you will get out of your Nacho outfit when you get back in your pickup truck.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Head back to Tuscaloosa. But we will see you for the rest of the season, and we will see you on social media as well.
Absolutely.
Bammer Hammer, man.
Yeah, Rammer Jammer, Yellow Hammer. Give him hell, Alabama. Roll Tide.
There you go.
That's how you finish.
Thanks, Nacho.
Absolutely.